Take two, baby! Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial. Today we are going to be taking a look at anime style energy effects. So not really energy, but so much as just like procedural based things. So like fire, smoke, and electricity, which happens to be the three that I'm going to be going over today. But you could also use these effects and hopefully maybe even make your own kind of procedural effect. So it could be energy, it could be some weird mixture of things. Either way. Alright, so first what we're going to do is we're just going to do the flame effect. We're going to delete everything, erase that hoe. And next what we're going to do is we're just going to use an icosphere with a subdivision of 3. It honestly doesn't matter right now for the test. But what we're going to do is we're going to create into flame. So let's jump into the shader workspace and go into here. Now, one thing to note, we're going to be working in Eevee with ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections on. Though we really only need bloom because of how the style works. It doesn't matter too much. But for now, let's just do this. So, for the flame effect, we're going to be using a noise texture, plugging that into the base color, and then plugging in a color ramp. Simple. We're just going to kind of create what the flame is going to look like. This is pretty much good for here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to drag that out, and we're going to plug that into the alpha layer. Now, what you'll notice is that it doesn't really look like anything. It's not transparent or anything like that. So what we need to do is change the blending mode from opaque to alpha blend. You can do alpha clip. This sort of creates a more, I would say, very tune shaded, like everything's harsh lines, no gradients or anything like that. And that could be cool if you want to do something like this. But I like my gradients, so we're going to use alpha blend, and we're going to push this in enough so that it looks good. I like this. Now what we're going to do from here is we're going to Control T to add a mapping and texture coordinate node. We're then going to select object and plug that in instead. Because we're going to actually animate using a empty in a sec. But first, let's design this a little bit. So what we need to do is stretch the Z, or you could stretch like other parts of this, but as you can tell, like it kind of does like a shrink wrapping thing. It's not that great on orbs. I'll be honest. To be fair, you could just do it like this and just have it slightly lower. We'll do it slightly lower. I think that looks a little bit better. Now, next what we're going to do is we need to change this noise texture up just a tiny bit. We're going to change it to 4D. And we're also going to change the distortion to 0.8 to 1. 0.8 is usually max what I'll go to. Or I should say 1 is max what I'll go to, but I think this looks the most like fire. So we're gonna do that, and to animate this thing, because we want it to animate upwards like fire does, instead of animating this, which I don't like doing, you could easily, but what I like to do is I like to use the object coordinates, so that way we can add an empty. Any empty works, we'll just use this plane axis, and we'll select that plane axis as the thing. So now if we move this, it will, if we move this, it will animate in whatever direction we move it. Also, if we scale it up, it will also change the size of the noise. So that's a other cool option. So instead of changing the scale this way, you can just change it this way. Then from there, the only details you have to change are your roughness values, detail, and other things like that. To animate this, we're going to do a little cute, cheeky little thing to animate over time, and we're going to be using a driver. So to do that, we're going to use the Z location and do hashtag or number frame divided by some number. The division will essentially be like how slow we go. So it's at 50 now, and if we change it to 100, it'll be much slower. Let's do 50. I think that looks pretty good for this. And that's pretty much good. Now, also, already we kind of have the smoke effect. This is like what I would have done if it was the smoke effect, in all honesty. I wouldn't have done too much different with this. This is literally where I would have gone to do smoke, and this is where I would have stopped. I might have maybe turned down the distortion a little bit, maybe even up the detail or decrease the detail. But this is like general like smoke effects for the most part. Now to make it a fire, what we're going to do is we're going to add in a color ramp at the end of this, because we need this one specifically for the alpha layer, but this one is going to just affect our white to be a certain color. So let's make it orange, and let's also plug that into the emission. You really don't need to plug it into the base color, in all honesty. You could just plug it into the emission, but I do it anyways because why not. Then if we just adjust the strength, we now have a nice looking little fireball, and it looks dope. If you decided to turn off show backface, it would be more like this, but what's also nice is it's still technically transparent. So if we turned on transparency, it's still transparent, so you just wouldn't see the back side of it, which I think is fine depending on how you want to go about it. Like if you duplicate this and push it in, that's actually one of the only annoying things. You wouldn't be able to see past it. So I think you need to change the shadow mode to alpha clipped for the most part, and then also showing backface. So then that way, you know, you can have multiple balls in a ball. Important things to note. But yeah, this is your fireball. It's pretty simple from there. You could be like very detailed on like what color you want this to be. So again, you could maybe have some like energy like effects, change the scale up, you know, change the detail to be higher so that way it's more realistic, change the detail lower to be less realistic. You know, play around with that as you will, but that is the basis for the flame effect. Now let's do something a little bit more fun, and let's try electricity. We already went over the smoke and flame, so let's do some electricity. What we're going to do is we're going to do another icosphere. We're going to create another material, and we're going to call it electric, because I don't know what else to call it. Sorry if it's loud right now and you hear running. That is my cats. They are sprinting up and down the stairs. So what we're gonna do for this one is a little bit different. We're gonna be using a Voronoi texture and plugging in the color into the base color. Let's actually go back to this so it's a little bit easier to see. So what I want is I want these like edges in the Voronoi, not like the full Voronoi itself, because it's supposed to be lightning, so it's like arcs kind of spreading out everywhere. So to do that, we need to change F1 to distance to edge, then plug that back in because it might turn off, and now we have like the edge kind of soloed out and everything else is white. But if we're going to plug this into the alpha layer, actually I think it's fine, but we're going to plug a color ramp in to then reverse this. And we're also going to set it from linear to constant, so that way we get some between our edges, and we're going to make them as thin as possible to now get this sort of like cracked sort of shape. Then from there, we're going to change this to 4D because this is going to be important for animation later on. And yeah, next thing what we did is we're going to add a noise because this is a little bit too straight. Like, all of this is crazy straight, and if we were to animate this, it doesn't really feel like lightning. It just feels like a weird cell-y type of thing. So we need to break it up and make it a little bit more distorted and noisy to break up the lines so that they shoot everywhere. And to do that is a weird technique that I don't think a lot of people do, but it's to plug in a texture into another texture just by plugging the color into the vector. Now, when I did this last time, it took a little bit, but seems to be a little bit faster now. And as you can see, it really displaces that Voronoi texture, which I think looks pretty cool. The size really does dictate like how far this is, because if you have this set to 0, you don't see anything. So be careful a little bit on there. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up to, we'll just leave it at 5, or maybe we'll put it to 3. And from there, if we up the detail, it will start being more jagged. So now it's a lot more like lightning, just way more detailed. The higher you go, the more detailed it becomes. Roughness, obviously, we'll do a little bit of that too, but I don't want to turn that up. Honestly, just leave that at 0.5. It's probably better you do that anyways. And you could add distortion. Again, this is kind of more of a styling thing now. Once you go past the detail and doing this whole setup, adding roughness and stuff, and then also distortions, more just like playing around with style, and you don't need to. So next, what we want to do, I should save this. Oh, God, I've done this 3 times already. Next, what we want to do is we want to animate this electricity to go over time. So to do that, we're going to also select 4D on the noise texture, and on both of the W's we're going to put in a driver, same as before, hashtag frame divided by whatever number, and whatever is too fast, this might be really fast, so let's bump this up to maybe like 50, maybe 100, just to make it noticeable. And we'll do the same thing on this one. Though this one, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a lot slower, so we're going to do like 200. So now it's fully changing throughout the whole thing. It's a little hard to notice, but if I go frame by frame, you start noticing the sort of electricalness to it all. You could adjust the scale on here to make more arcs, essentially. So let's just create a few more arcs, and I like the look of this. I think it's great now. The only other thing we want to do is plug in a... Okay, it didn't really want me to, so let's just do Control T. And let's delete the mapping node because we don't need it. And let's plug in the object for the texture coordinates into the noise textures vector, because we're going to be doing the same thing by plugging this into here. So that way, again, everything's controlled, and if we want, it animates upwards, downwards, whatever direction you're trying to go. So now it's all moving upwards. Again, do this however you like, but this is just a cool technique to animate your textures using another thing. Why is it not going down? Okay, I think it's because I have a driver set in. I don't know why I thought something else, but whatever. Now you can control the thickness of the strength of like each arc via the color ramp. So play with that as you will. And now let's give it some color. We're going to change this white value here to some bright value. Let's do blue, just because. Or you know what? Let's have fun with it. Let's do like a pink lightning. Why not? It could be blue. It doesn't really matter. Now let's plug that into the emission shader. Let it load and bump up the strength. I don't like this anymore. Let's bring it back to like yeah, let's make it blue. I like this better. And let's make it thinner, and let's maybe reduce the size of the lightning so that way it's a little bit easier to see over everything. And now, as you can see, we have an electric effect. Now, if you want it to be transparent, this is very easy. Just plug the color into the alpha layer. Simple as that. All you have to do from there is then change the blend mode and shadow mode. So alpha blend or alpha clipped might be fine for this because we were using what's it called? Fucking let it load. It's just gonna take a sec, but we have this set to constant, so it'd probably be fine to use clip or alpha clip, but alpha blend's fine. I prefer the gradients, but you don't get that with this. You might if you decided to use linear. Might be better. I don't know. I haven't tested it like this. Also, my blender is not responding. It might crash. But yeah, this is maybe a slightly more realistic version because it's sort of everywhere on there. It's sort of however you decide to go about it, but this is the general basis for everything. Let's make this a little bit smaller just to make it easier to see. And yeah, you know, you can decrease the detail, increase it as much as you want, get all that in there. Distortion might be fun to play with. Again, play around with these nodes. Plug maybe more different aspects into the noise or the Voronoi. Use all the texturing stuff. This one's, you know, it's a fun effect to try. It's a good way of just testing out shaders and cool effects you can do. Like we can duplicate this and then maybe plug in my flame effect and have that like overlaying each other, and now we sort of have like a weird ball of energy. This was unplanned, but we make cool effects here. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, guys. Like this is like just about all you need. This looks like almost like a Rasengan. We're almost getting to Rasengan status, I think. You can really just play around with like how these things look and get crazy results just by playing around and honestly like just being unique with how you decide to present your effects. Like it's as simple as that. Look at this crazy ass shit. Also, you can see like completely through it, which I don't fully like in this case. It might be better for the flame in this to actually just be opaque. Wait, would it? Yeah. No, actually, we'll do alpha blend, but I just don't want backface to be showing. Oh, no, okay, I want it to be opaque. There we go. Now it's like a little energy ball. We can adjust this. I'm just playing around here, guys, but again, you could do quite literally anything with this. Just make sure your intensities maybe aren't super high so they don't go crazy on each other. And that's about it. Alright, that's the tutorial. This is literally all I had to show you. I had no other plans in mind. But I hope you learned something. This is mainly, I guess, teaching you about the blending modes, alpha stuff, and the procedural texturing, animating it procedurally as well, and creating cool, unique anime-like effects, because they probably would do this in anime if they could. anyways, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I love you. Thank you for watching. I will try to figure out a new tutorial for next week that's new. I don't know. Write something in the comments. I'll figure something out. But if you guys have any suggestions, obviously let me know. I've been pretty focused on doing my Chainsaw Man video, which is fucking insane. You know what? I'll show a little preview on that. What's a fun one? Hold up. Let me open something. But yeah, I've been pretty focused on this Chainsaw Man video, which has a lot of scenes, and I'm trying to think of which one's really fun to show. Actually, this one might be the most fun. I have a compositing shot. Yeah, we have all of these like crazy projects that I'm working on. This one's been my main focus, so it's been a little hard to focus on all of the tutorial stuff, but I have things going on, which you can see the progress for a lot of the Chainsaw Man stuff on my Instagram. I post pretty frequently on there, and you can see stuff like this on my story, where I pretty much show you me working on like all of these shots, pretty much recreating the trailer for the whole thing. I'm also redoing this one. I didn't like it, but this one's one of my favorites. A little destruction shot. This is complicated. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to teach you guys how to make this, but it's very fun. I'm enjoying the process of doing all of these little things. But yeah, I guess that's it. I'll go. I don't want to get this recording going on for too long because I have to cut it down at least a little bit by tomorrow. So yeah, peace out, guys.